used to think betrayal had a sound. Maybe the slam of a door, the sharp crack of a lie breaking loose, the silence after a scream. But when it happened to me, it didn't sound like anything. It was quiet, like the ocean at night, calm on the surface, while everything underneath was ripping apart. My name's Jack Nolan, 32 years old, born and raised in Denver, Colorado. I run a small outdoor gear business, mostly tents, backpacks, stuff for hikers who don't want their gear to fail them. That was always important to me. Make something people can rely on, something that lasts. I believed in that. I believed in marriage the same way. I met Caroline 2 years ago at a fundraising event for a veterans housing project. She was there as part of a design team. I was volunteering. She had this quiet fire about her. Not loud, not flashy, but magnetic in a way that made the rest of the room fade. She asked smart questions. She listened when I answered. We clicked. That night I drove home and thought, that woman's gonna change my life. And she did. Dating her felt like one long exhale. She was thoughtful, dependable, funny when you didn't expect it. She loved old books and cooking shows and hated small talk. I liked that. She was deeper than most people I'd met. Our relationship moved quickly, maybe too quickly, but it never felt rushed. I proposed 10 months in, under a snow-covered pine at Estes Park. She said yes, cried a little, laughed a lot, and kissed me like she meant it. We got married on a crisp September Saturday. Nothing fancy, just family, close friends, and a cabin-style lodge in Vail. The kind of wedding where the music is played on a string quartet and the food actually tastes like someone cared. I remember watching her walk down the aisle and thinking, this is the woman I'm going to grow old with. She looked perfect. Ivory lace, red hair pinned back, eyes locked on mine. We said our vows, handwritten. Hers made me tear up. Something about wanting to be my home, my peace, my adventure. I meant every word of mine. She kissed me like she believed it too. And that's what makes what happened next almost impossible to process. Our honeymoon was booked for Maui, Kanapapi Beach, ocean view suite. I'd spent months planning it. I wanted it to be perfect. I even had this dorky surprise, a message in a bottle I'd hidden in the sand with a note for her, telling her how excited I was for our future. She loved that kind of thing. Little gestures, thoughtful details. Or, at least, I thought she did. She slept most of the flight, head on my shoulder. I remember watching her mouth slightly part as she breathed, thinking how lucky I was, how everything was about to begin. I scrolled through the wedding photos on my phone, pausing on one where she was laughing, veil caught in the breeze. I must have looked like an idiot, grinning like that in seat 17C. We landed in the early evening. The air was warm and thick with salt, the kind of air that instantly melts your shoulders. I picked up our rental car, a navy blue Jeep, and we drove the hour or so up the coast. Palm trees, ocean on one side, green cliffs on the other. I looked over at her a few times, her fingers playing with her necklace. She wasn't smiling as much as usual, but I chalked it up to jet lag. The resort was everything the photos promised. Open-air lobby, staff with flower leis, chilled guava juice on arrival. We checked in, rode the elevator to the 10th floor. Our suite had a balcony with a panoramic view of the ocean. You could hear the waves when you opened the sliding glass door. We made love that night. It was soft, sweet, but something was off. She was present, but not all the way, like her mind was somewhere else. I didn't say anything. I kissed her shoulder after, told her I loved her. She smiled, said it back. I believed her. The next few days were mostly perfect. We snorkeled at Molokini, took the road to Hana and stopped at waterfalls, ate poke and fresh pineapple until we were sick. I surprised her with a couples massage. She surprised me with sunrise coffee on the beach. But in the quiet moments, when we were back in the room or walking back from dinner, she got distant. Her phone was always close. She took it into the bathroom, turned it face down. I noticed, but told myself not to be paranoid. We'd just gotten married. She wasn't that kind of person. On the 5th night, we had dinner at the resort restaurant. Candlelight, live ukulele, the whole thing. She looked stunning. White dress, sun-kissed skin, but her smile barely reached her eyes. Halfway through dessert, she got a text. Her phone lit up, and she flinched. I watched her put it down without answering. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, just something with work." I frowned. Work? You're on your honeymoon. She gave a small shrug, sipped her wine. It's nothing. I should have pushed. Should have asked. But I didn't want to ruin a night. I let it go. That's on me. We walked back to the room. She said she was tired, wanted to take a shower before bed. I nodded, told her I'd meet her on the balcony. I poured myself a drink, leaned on the railing, watched the moonlight ripple on the water. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Then 30. I went back in, called her name. No answer. The bathroom door was open. Lights off. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I glanced at it. One message, then another. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. Unknown number. Meet me by the pool bar. I miss you. Unknown number. He's asleep, right? My chest froze. I opened the thread. They'd been texting for days. During our honeymoon. While I held her hand on hikes, kissed her forehead in bed, he sent her photos. Of himself, of his room. She sent one back, a selfie in the same white dress she wore at dinner. My throat closed. I couldn't breathe. I went to the sliding door and looked down. Our suite faced the ocean, but from the angle, you could see the pool deck to the left. And there she was. Caroline. In a short blue robe I didn't recognize. Walking up to a man in a baseball cap and board shorts. He opened his arms. She walked right into them. They kissed. Not a peck. A long, slow kiss. I didn't even realize I was gripping the balcony rail until my knuckles went white. I backed away, sat on the edge of the bed. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might rupture. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. We were married 5 days ago. 5 fucking days. I don't remember how long I sat there. 10 minutes? An hour? Time lost all meaning. My mind was spiraling, trying to make sense of something that couldn't be real. I checked the messages again, as if rereading them might reveal some misunderstanding. Maybe it was a friend. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe I was crazy. But the messages were clear, intimate, familiar. They talked about things we did during the day, twisted through their lens. He'd written, "You looked amazing in that white dress. Could barely keep my hands off you at dinner." She replied, "You're lucky I didn't pull you into the restroom after dessert. He never would have known." I stood up and grabbed my phone. I wanted to call someone, anyone, my brother, my best friend. But what would I say? Hey, remember the woman I just married? Yeah, she's downstairs cheating on me right now. I felt like I couldn't breathe in that room anymore. I grabbed the key card, threw on my sandals, and took the elevator to the lobby. I didn't know where I was going, just that I couldn't stay still. The elevator dinged on the 3rd floor. I didn't press it. Someone else did. And there they were. Caroline and him. She was laughing, this light, flirty laugh I hadn't heard from her since we got here. Her hair was still damp. She was holding her heels in one hand. He had his arm around her waist like he'd done it 100 times before. When the doors opened, I stepped in. She froze. The guy looked at me, confused, maybe half drunk. "Hey man, wrong floor?" I didn't say a word. I looked at her, right into her eyes. And in that moment, everything broke. Her smile vanished, her face drained of color. I didn't yell, didn't swing, just stared. I don't remember the walk back up to our suite. I just remember how my hands were shaking when I slid the key card into the door. She came back 10 minutes later, alone. I was sitting on the bed, phone in my lap, messages still open. I didn't look at her. She stood in the doorway like a kid caught sneaking in after curfew. "Jack," she whispered. I raised a hand. "Don't. I can explain." "Don't. I didn't plan for this to happen." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd, so pathetic, that it broke something in me. "You didn't plan to cheat on me during our honeymoon?" Her lips trembled. "It just happened." "No,
That's not how this works, Caroline. You planned this. You brought him here. She didn't deny it. I stood up, walked to the balcony, and gripped the railing again. My wedding ring caught the light. I stared at it. You know what the worst part is? I said. I was all in. I loved you without conditions, without doubt. She stepped closer. I still love you. I turned around, looked her dead in the eyes. No, you don't. You love that I loved you. You love what I gave you, but you don't love me, not in any way that matters. She started to cry. I didn't care. I packed my bag in silence. She didn't stop me. Maybe she knew she had no right. Maybe she didn't want to. I left that room with nothing but a backpack and the weight of betrayal I'd carry for a long time. I didn't go to the airport right away. I sat in the Jeep for a long time, staring out at the parking lot lit by soft resort lights and the occasional flicker of palm trees swaying under the night wind. I felt numb. Not angry, not sad, just hollow. Like someone had scooped out everything inside me and left a man-shaped shell behind. My phone buzzed. It was Caroline. Caroline. Please don't leave. Can we talk? I made a mistake. I didn't reply. Then another. Caroline. He means nothing. It was stupid. It's over. I'm scared. Still nothing. Then one more. Caroline. I love you. Please don't throw this away. That one made me laugh again. Not the real kind. The broken, bitter kind. Throw this away? I didn't throw anything. She did.
I booked a red-eye flight back to Denver. The airline charged me an extra $450 to change it. I didn't care. I would have paid 10 times that just to be off that island. I didn't tell anyone what had happened. Not yet. I landed at sunrise, took a cab back to our apartment, and just sat in the living room, in the dark. Her wedding dress was still hanging in the garment bag on the door. Her bouquet, now dry and brown at the edges, sat in a vase on the counter. I left it there. Hours passed. I didn't eat, didn't sleep, just stared at the walls. At some point, I opened our wedding album. Page after page of us smiling, laughing, holding hands, kissing under archways and fairy lights. I stared at a photo of her holding my face in her hands, forehead pressed to mine. She looked like someone who loved me. She looked like it. It took me 3 days to call my brother. I told him everything. He offered to come over. I told him not to. I needed space. I needed silence. Carolyn flew back 2 days later. She tried to come in. I locked the door. She cried on the other side, begged through the wood. I didn't open it. She called dozens of times, left voicemails, sent emails, said she was sorry, that she was confused, that it was just a last fling before settling down. A last fling on our honeymoon? She asked for therapy, a fresh start, a reset. I didn't answer. Then her messages turned to guilt. I was drunk. I didn't think you'd find out. We never even had sex. It didn't mean anything. She changed her story 5 different times. I stopped listening after the first lie. When she finally realized I wasn't coming back, she tried one last tactic. Blame. You were so intense about everything, about the trip, the planning. It felt like pressure. You always wanted things perfect. Maybe I panicked. And that's when I felt something break free in me, the last thread holding me to the idea of fixing it. She didn't understand what she broke, and she never would. I filed for annulment. She contested it, briefly, said she didn't want to lose me. But when I sent the lawyer screenshots of the texts, she folded. I never thought I'd be the guy who gets divorced before his thank you cards are mailed. But there I was. 27 unopened wedding gifts still stacked in the hallway, and not a single one could fill the silence she left behind. I didn't talk to her again after that. She sent one final email the day the annulment was finalized. Subject, I'm sorry, truly. Body,
I will always love you. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I wish I could undo it. Please be happy, Jack. I didn't reply. I archived it and blocked her on everything. But that didn't mean she disappeared. Grief is strange. You don't just mourn the loss of the person, you mourn the version of your future that had them in it. You mourn the conversations you thought you'd have, the mornings, the traditions, the anniversaries that now meant nothing. You replay moments, good ones, and start to question whether they were ever real, whether you were just too stupid, too blind, too hopeful. For a while, I was angry at myself more than her. Why didn't I see it? Why didn't I stop it? Why did I trust so deeply? But slowly I realized something. I didn't do anything wrong. I loved fully, honestly. I gave my all, and she spit in my hands. I started therapy. At first, I hated it. I didn't want to talk. I wanted to forget. But forgetting isn't healing. It's just bleeding under a shirt and pretending you're fine. My therapist helped me piece things back together. She told me something that stuck. What happened to you wasn't a reflection of your worth. It was a reflection of her inability to see it. That line carried me through the worst days. I also started running again. 5 miles every morning, rain or shine. It helped, not just physically, it was the rhythm of it, the steadiness, the idea that I could keep going even when it hurt. 6 months passed, then a year. I still wore the scar, but it stopped bleeding. Sometimes late at night, I'd dream we were still together, that none of it happened. I'd wake up reaching for someone who wasn't there, and I'd remind myself, she doesn't get to have space in my bed anymore, or my head. People ask me if I'd ever get married again. I don't know. Not yet. Maybe someday. But I know this. The next time I give someone my heart, it'll be because they've proven they know what to do with it, and I won't ever mistake pretty words for real loyalty again. The second year was quieter. The pain wasn't gone, not really, but it had settled, like a stone you learn to carry in your pocket. Heavy some days, barely noticeable on others. I focused on work, grew the business, took on new clients, launched a new line of ultralight camping gear. It gave me something to build, something to control. At night, I read, got into photography, started cooking again, real meals, not just frozen stuff and takeout. And slowly I started to notice the world again. Little things. How the air smells different in October. How strangers smile when you hold the door. How silence can actually feel peaceful when it isn't full of memories. I didn't plan to meet anyone, wasn't looking, but life doesn't care about plans. It was a Wednesday, grocery store. I was reaching for a box of cereal when a woman beside me grabbed the exact same one at the same time. We laughed. She said something about great taste in breakfast. I made a dumb joke. She smiled. Her name was Naomi. She wasn't like Caroline at all. Naomi was direct, funny, a little awkward in the best way, a software engineer who loved hiking, hated wine snobs, and owned a rescue dog named Bucket. We bumped into each other again a week later. Then again. After the third time, I asked if she wanted to get coffee. She said yes. That first coffee turned into 3 hours of talking about life, about failed relationships, about grief, growth, guilt. I didn't tell her everything right away, but I told her enough, and she didn't flinch. Over time, she became a fixture in my world. Not like a lightning bolt, more like sunlight through blinds. Warm, gradual, steady. The first time I told her what happened, really told her, all of it, she didn't offer platitudes. She just said, "I'm sorry, that never should have happened to you, but I'm glad you made it through." No one had said that before, that they were glad I made it through. I don't believe in soulmates anymore. I don't believe in fairy tales, but I believe in second chances, in people surprising you, in the way someone can make you feel safe just by sitting close and not asking you to pretend. I'm not married again, but I'm open. And more importantly, I'm whole. That's the part no one talks about after betrayal, that you can be rebuilt, that you can come back stronger, not because of revenge, not because they suffer, but because you refuse to stay broken. Caroline will always be a part of my story, but she's no longer the headline. I am. And that, after everything, is the truest thing I've ever lived through.